don't. I came back, County Road 500, I took the back road coming back.
I didn't say that, but you know, that's
Through
what
that Meadow subdivision. We got out to the highway, and I still had to wait for all the cars coming from Bayfield to come through. And I waited for a while. Pretty soon, this one lady,
You guys all ready?
she just stopped and said, "Go ahead." And I'm
You guys
like,
ready?
"All right."
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order, dated August 1st, 2023. The time is now 6:30. Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Here.
Trustee Hartz,
Here.
Trustee Moreland,
Here.
Trustee Thomas,
Here.
Trustee Wolf,
Here.
and Trustee Ah,
Here.
Mayor Tarkington.
Here.
Recording in progress.
Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, does the board have any conflicts of interest to announce at this time?
Yes. 4C.
4C. Anybody else? All right, noted. At this time, I'll open it up for general public input. Please state your name and address, and you can sign in on the roster as well.
Good evening. Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. At the budget meetings that you had last week, I might have been a little harsh with my review of the 2023 goals that you set and the percentage of accomplishment. And you know, I think you're doing a good job, but what I would encourage you to do is in the 2024 budget, set some goals that are attainable, a little easier for you to accomplish. And then we can tout those to the public, because you've got a lot of things coming up. Sales tax, you've got the stormwater issues, you got a lot of things you're going to need public support on. So I encourage you to do some things that are going to help us get there with public support. And all your goals don't have to be as lofty as your 2023 ones, but that's just my 2 cents on keeping it real. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Moving on. Did everybody get a chance to go over the agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as posted.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as posted.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our budget work session attendance roster. Did everybody get a chance to look over that? And if you were here and you approve, I would entertain a motion to approve the roster as provided.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget work session July 2025, 2023 attendance roster.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our minutes from July 18th, 2023. Did everybody get a chance to look over those?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the July 18th minutes as provided by the Deputy Town Clerk Lamb.
I second that.
All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to Resolution 577, the appointment updates.
Yeah, so you have a resolution 577, it's appointment update, basically to appoint the town clerk. And during this temporary transition, the board has the authority to make this change at the first of year if you decide to. However, usually we do this in April, so it would be the resolution will be going until April, but of course, anytime you decide to change that, you can do that. And also, it's the chief of police instead of the marshal for Michael Hogue as well. So it's a resolution that I'm seeking your approval.
All right, any questions from the board?
Need a motion?
Yep.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 577.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas, Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, Katie, would you like to give the highlights of your report?
Yes. I will be out of the office, some dates that I'll be out in August. And also, I verified some dates for the budget session that's coming up. There's some dates that probably we'll kind of work around, especially September 19th. Now that we're going to have a ballot issue, or from what I assume will be a ballot issue, the coordinated election may have a lot to do with the budget as well. So we're planning on the budget hearing on the 7th of November, that same night. However, I would like to move that adoption or action on that budget to November 21, because there's a lot to do with this draft budget that may include a sales tax. And if the voters turn it down, then I need to make some swift changes in those 2 weeks. So talk a little bit about Senate Bill 213. Our governor and the sponsors of Senate Bill 213 are coming back. And Senator Jeff Bridges was a supporter. He was not a sponsor, but he was a supporter of Senate Bill 213. And we've now scheduled him in Durango, where we have not come up with a date, but he's actually going to the counties in southwest Colorado. And his date for our area will be Durango, 31st at 3 o'clock, and we'll determine a venue in Durango. So we're certainly hoping Ignacio, Bayfield, and Durango public show up to that. So it's basically to talk about what we're currently doing in housing and the preemption of land use, instead of local control, is something we are very concerned about. As far as our community was not highlighted in last Senate Bill 213, but it's only a matter of time before they continue to go this direction for the smaller communities as well.
That's right smack in the middle of a motorcycle rally.
Well, we explained that it was Labor Day weekend, so he'll get a taste of Southern Colorado at its best to speak. The transition, I think the first couple days, actually, has only been a couple days, has been good. The police department staff salaries were increased with the competitive guidelines, while the sergeant position will remain vacant. And will remain vacant through the 2024 budget as well. So that's what I have, unless you have any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Katie? All right, we'll move on to Emergency Telephone Service Association appointment.
Yes, so I got appointed because after the vacancy of the marshal last August. And so I am happily going to turn this back over to Police Chief Hogue. From what I understand, the Emergency Telephone Service Association has to make that decision, and this is my letter requesting that. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
All right, thank you. Pine River Senior Center rental application.
So the Pine River Senior Center has been turned over to Carrie Kirkpatrick. So all reservations can go through the Senior Center. You can actually call the Senior Center now and reserve that facility. I wanted to make sure that you saw this new application, so you just have that in front of you. It's got some of the new rates that we discussed or that you approved at your last meeting. And, certainly looking forward to some changes as far as the Senior Center rental, so.
Katie, I have a question for you. I know that Carrie is not a full-time employee. Does taking over management of these rental applications, does this okay impacting
Well,
her
it's
time?
okay. I think she's concerned that if this becomes a quite well-used facility, it may become a more full-time position. So we're certainly keeping an eye on that as far as her time as well. We are changing to time cards here, I think in a month or so, or a couple weeks. So our goal is to make sure we're tracking that more diligently.
Okay.
And are we still looking at an October?
October is going to be our first commercial kitchen rental. Couple things we would like to get done before then. So especially some of the items that are in your agenda here, but later on, so.
Okay.
Do we
Katie, if
still
these
need the
rentals go on
COVID?
when she's not here, or when Carrie's not here, who, does someone need to be, does staff need to be available to,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, she's pretty good about managing that. Tuxu could do that as well at the senior center, and if not, we'll forward that back to Dustin and let him manage that for some reason in her absence.
Cool. No, I'm just curious, because I'm really hopeful that this takes off, and I just want to make sure that we don't burn out staff.
I
that's
agree.
part-time.
We don't want to burn anybody else out.
With a great opportunity with this. Okay, thank you.
Tom, did you have?
Yeah, do we still need the COVID addendum on there?
We decided to leave that on there just for right now, but it'll probably come off at the end of this year.
Okay.
Can't hurt.
Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to the Bayfield Mobile Home Park, notice of intent to sell the park.
So by the state legislature, they are required by CRS 3812-217-1A, notice of intent to sell the park, and 1AHA, notice of signing a listing agreement for the sale of the park. That's required by our state legislature. Typically, that comes to the municipality or the local government that those are located within. In some cases, the local government may want to purchase that property to retain affordable housing. I did provide information from Lisa Bloomquist Palmer regarding there is a program of Thistle ROC, and they actually provide co-op opportunities to give people information about how to co-op. And actually purchase their own mobile home park by themselves. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of this. I don't think you're interested in purchasing the mobile home park for $5 million plus.
It's overpriced.
But you certainly have that option if you decide to do that. So
No.
No, I'm not interested. It's way overpriced.
Not unless we want another ballot issue.
While we're at it. All right, any other comments or, all right. We'll move on to our financial action agenda. Do we have any public input pertaining to items 3A through E on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the July 2023 disbursements. Did everyone get a chance to look at those? And if you have any questions, we do have our finance director in the room.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the July 2023 disbursements.
Accept.
I'm sorry. Accept.
So just in discussion, go ahead.
The VMS signs, what are those?
Variable message sign is what VMS stands for.
They're the ones that say that there's potholes getting fixed.
Thank you.
And so
Right now.
we're getting those programmed.
Gotcha.
So in this, basically on the first page, you're going to see the senior center supplies and senior center coffee supplies. La Plata County is no longer providing coffee on Tuesdays because that's when there's just the seniors get together and basically they can have their luncheon, they play some games, whatever else. So currently right now we purchase all of the coffee, sugar, tea, and everything, and then we'll determine basically what La Plata County owes us for their portion of providing coffee only during the lunch hour, Wednesdays and Fridays. So it's come down to tea and coffee and sugar and cream.
Wow. That finicky, huh?
What would it cost to have our own VMS signs?
Those are ours.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, we bought them?
We bought them.
Okay, because I was like, is that a rental? Okay, thank you.
So if you drive down 501, those are the town of Bayfield's VMS.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I do think we have a motion on the floor. Would you like to restate?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the July 2023 disbursements.
I
All
second.
right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. Reconditioned Clearwell pump.
Yeah, so I put together a purchase request. The small service pump at the wastewater treatment facility broke down, so we have that at American Technical. The quote's provided. We'd like to get that repaired. It's about half the horsepower of the large pump, so it's about 40 horse, and the ones we're running are 80. So we see a huge cost savings running that full-time rather than the large pumps, and I did want to reallocate some water capital funds for the purchase, and it's included in the request.
Any questions for Jeremy?
Yeah, looks like it'll pay for itself in a year, so that's good.
So when will that be put back in the budget for the hydrant? Like what?
The eye hydrants, we
There's
currently
one-
can't get those.
You can't
So
get 'em?
they're on backlog. Yeah, that's why I opted to try and shuffle some of those funds to help offset the cost of the repair.
Okay, so will that be moved to next year?
I think we're just going to punt.
Okay.
We're putting communications and pressure transducers and all the PRVs throughout town right now. So I don't think we're going to continue trying to get the eye hydrants. This is the second year in a row we tried to get them installed, and we're just unable to get them.
Okay. And, okay. Thank you.
Any other
Thanks.
questions? We'll need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve $22,859.08 in the water fund capital instead of other budgeted expenditures for the reconditioned Clearwell pump.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further comments? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, moving on to our senior center interior painting.
Yes, so the senior center, built in 2007, 2008, does need some interior painting. We did get a quote from three, and Painters Painting has the best recommendation, our customer satisfaction. So Joe is suggesting that we go with Painters Painting instead of the lowest bid, which was double A quality painting.
Did the lowest bid not have good reviews?
I'm sorry?
Did the lower bid not have good reviews?
So from what I understand, it did not have good reviews.
Okay. We don't want to
Is that the
use
guy
them.
that lives on Mesa Avenue?
I'm sorry, I don't know where they live.
That was Graham?
Yep.
I didn't get the quotes. The quotes are
I mean,
in,
that guy painted my house. He did a good job on it, and he did the one across the street from me that was peeling like horrible from the sun, and they painted it like 5 times before he did it, and that was 5 years ago, and the paint's still holding up. So, I mean, I think he knows what he's doing.
yeah, he's got a post office box in Bayfield, but no address, so.
Pretty sure that's the same guy.
If you'd like me to do a little more review on their, maybe ask them for their customer, I mean, I think what Joe did is what any 20, 30-ish is going to do. He went to the website to see if there's any reviews, and as small towns, sometimes people don't review things, so.
I mean, I'm looking at the quotes here. I mean, I don't think there's much difference
I don't
cost-wise. It's very slim on,
And we budgeted to paint, or we have this in the budget for
The
2023?
paint will also be another expense that comes with the painting.
Oh, no, but we budgeted for this project as well.
Yes, yeah, it is in the budget. We had $20,000 budgeted for the senior center remodel. We've used about a little less than $4,000 for toilet. We'll replace all the toilets in the senior center. This would be painting in the interior. We'd like to do a little bit of remodeling to remove the closet and the seniors stuff in one closet and the more commercial kitchen closet in a separate area. But we're getting quotes on that as well.
So I have to ask, is it gonna be the same color?
I was thinking.
No, Carrie's picking the color.
I mean, I honestly, looking at these quotes, I could move forward.
Yeah.
There's not
Perfectly
much
too.
difference.
Yeah.
It's 10,000 plus the paint, and the paint goes up to 2,000.
Yeah.
So it's a $12,000 quote versus a $12,300. Yeah.
I mean, if you're good with that, I would entertain a motion to move forward.
And it was a little ambivalent on what the actual cost was on the AA quality painting. It says, I think there's going to be possible 10 days. What if it's 12?
$1,000 a
and then-
day plus the paint.
Yeah, what if he takes a lot of smoke breaks or something, you know?
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve painter's painting bid of $12,300.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to our Bayfield Parkway Clover Drive intersection.
Yes, good evening. So this is a request, back in 2018, Russell Planning and Engineering, now SEH, did do a traffic impact study for the Clover 7 subdivision. And as part of that study, they were required to analyze the Bayfield Parkway Clover Drive intersection, which is right across from the Haga house that's on that property, on Haga property. And it was determined that a left turn lane was warranted at that time at that intersection before Clover 7 was even developed. So that intersection does need improvements now, even before Clover 7 started developing. And so the town did get a cost estimate for that, and at the time it's $311,446. So we know that we need to redo that intersection, and so Clover 7, as part of the subdivision improvement agreement, which is a negotiated agreement with the town, they agreed to pay a portion of that intersection cost per the impact that their traffic was going to cause, the new houses are going to cause. And so we use that same formula for Mustang Crossing, and we're using the same formula for the Haga Pine River Commons project as well. But the Pine River Commons project, all along Bayfield Parkway on that north side, we're requiring a sidewalk along their project edge, which we don't have on Bayfield Parkway right now, but we're gonna, as things develop, we'll be requiring the sidewalk. And they're gonna put in a crosswalk right at Clover intersection. Well, and if you all know, there's no curb, gutter, sidewalks along Bayfield Parkway, and in order for them to put in the curb, gutter, and sidewalk in the exact location that we need it to be, we need to have some level of analysis of that intersection to know the dimensions, so that we don't in the future have to remove the curb, gutter, and sidewalk because we got it wrong. And so we, with that fee, so far we've collected $27,884 and towards that intersection. And we'd like to use $6,845, which comes out of the street fund, to do a preliminary engineering of that intersection so that we have a plan, so that when the Haga Pine River Commons project goes and puts the sidewalk, curb, and gutter in, we don't have to remove it in a couple of years because we do the intersection plan and realize it's off. So So we're asking to use some of that funding, which again, so far we've collected 27,800 towards that intersection.
How are those funds collected?
So Clover 7 actually agreed, worked it out where they, every time a property is sold, they have to pay the title company, and the title company pays us. Mustang Crossing, I had Glenn Moselle pay us up front for phase 1. So he can put it back on the property owners, but we're not gonna be collecting it individually. So he paid up front for phase 1. And so we would do the same thing with Charlie Albert for the Pine River Commons, is have him pay it towards phase 1 as well. His engineers are who we're asking to do this because they've already done a lot of the survey work in that intersection. As long as that road, yep, so they have a lot of the information already, so we're asking them just to continue, but we're gonna contract with them to do the intersection design. And again, it's preliminary, our, SGM engineering, our engineers recommended we only do preliminary right now. That'll give us the dimensions, and then we don't do final engineering until we're ready to actually construct the intersection, because things can change. So we're getting preliminary engineering and survey work.
Do we know things are gonna stay the same enough that the preliminary work is not
It'll
gonna have
give
to be
us-
redone?
It'll give us the dimensions of the roadways and the turn lanes so that we know exactly where curb and gutter need to go. And that should not change unless we change our mind about dimensions. But we're making those decisions based on our infrastructure standards and our engineers and setting those dimensions, and that's what this will be based off of.
And in
with the
regard to
survey.
the Haga property, so where there's streets, so we're gonna have a left-hand turn
We're
at,
probably gonna need 2 lefts, but we're trying to figure, or a right hand, designated right hand, and a designated left hand. Right hand off of Clover, left, so they're gonna finish that engineering for us as part of that, but we're probably gonna need more than just a left now off of Bayfield Parkway onto Clover.
but the Haga property won't impact anything in
So
that
that's why we're
portion.
using the same engineer, cause he's already doing their engineering, so that they'll go hand in hand. So what happens with that intersection is gonna affect where they put their curb gutter sidewalk and where their properties are all, so he's gonna be doing all that hand in hand. And that's why it's easier to use the same engineer, and then SGM will review their work for us as a town.
Okay.
This cost for the intersection improvements, obviously that was 5 years ago. We'll get an updated number that we probably don't want to see. But we're already planning ahead for that as far as what the impact will be.
Yep, we'll get an updated number with the preliminary engineering to have a
Okay.
better idea of what it's gonna cost us. But again, that's gonna be today's numbers. If we don't get it installed for 2 more years, you know, it's gonna keep changing. But, we'll have a more updated number than this 311, which is probably quite a bit
Probably
low.
double.
Yeah.
Nicole, how are we gonna get even to 311 if we have the Mustang Crossing and the Clover 7 homes that got us to 27,000?
So we
Yeah.
won't get to 311 with just the developments because
Okay.
the intersection was already warranted before these developments occurred. So they're only paying their share.
Okay, I see.
But
Okay.
all the other developments that never paid, the town's gonna be, so
Okay.
again, looking for grant funding or
Okay.
things like that to pay for it. But they're
Okay.
not gonna be able to pay the 100% because they're not causing 100% of the
Okay.
traffic.
Nope, perfect, thank you.
And then as far as the timing of it, it has to be done now because,
They're trying to move forward with their project as well, and we don't wanna, again, get curb gutter and sidewalk in that we have to later, at the town's
Expense.
expense, remove and replace.
so they're actually gonna build it.
Mhm. They're
Okay.
gonna build it.
Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Any other questions? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to expend $6,845 on the Bayfield Parkway and Clover Drive intersection project to be paid to PST Engineering.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our Bayfield East intersection Oak Drive alignment project. Nicole?
Yes, so this is, we actually currently have a contract with SEH that we entered into last June. to get them to 60% engineering design for the intersection and the Oak Drive alignment project. And at that time, we wanted to get to 60%, and then we were going to come back to the board when we were ready to start moving towards that 100% design. So they're in the process of, they had to revise the traffic study per CDOT's comments. And so once that gets done, they're going to be ready to move from 60% to 100% design. And so this is just keeping that project moving forward. We did collect $500,000 from the school district when they built the secondary school to go towards this intersection. And with the currently contracted, we have $148,980. This is an additional $96,705, and that'll take us to $245,685. So we'll have about $254 and some change left in that account to help with the construction. I did unfortunately get some bad news today. We did not move forward with the congressional funding to the next round for the intersection construction. They said that they did not they did not approve much funding this year. So I will be re-looking at grant opportunities for that signal. So that's pretty disappointing and stings a little bit. We win some, we lose some, but we'll keep looking for some funding to get that intersection constructed. So that's my bad news for the day. But we do believe that getting this to the 100% design will be shovel ready, and that helps us as we're looking for grant funding when the engineering's done and ready to move forward.
What a bummer.
Right. It's time to call it a day. Okay, so those plans can stay in place with these costs if it takes us, hopefully not too long, but a couple of years to get more grant funding in line.
And then keeping that $250,000 for match is still important, as we know most grants require a match.
Is that going to be enough to match?
I don't know. It depends on. I mean, a lot of times it's 10%, especially big projects. Sometimes 20. So it just depends. So it may not be,
only 10.
but I'll do what I can to see what we can find. And maybe it's a phased approach. We'll just have to see. Maybe it's the intersection first, and then Oak Drive, realignment is a different phase or something that we apply for funding on. So.
So I feel like we just went through this with the park plan, where we had a park plan, we weren't able to implement it, and then 5 years later, we had to redo the entire plan. Do you foresee that something like that could happen if we don't find funding and we have this all completed out?
Yeah, I mean, we're on the TPR. Is that the 10-year, Katie? Which that means CDOT would help us pay for it. And that was what, 2 years now? So
Well, it's not, it's an unfunded on the Southwest TPR list, so.
But usually it's a 10-year, so at some point we expect.
At some
we're
point,
gonna
we
move
hope
up
to get
the
it,
list
yeah,
and
at
get
some point,
funding.
we actually would like to get it on a list with funding versus zero.
Yeah. So I mean, there's always that, but that's gonna take longer. I mean, there's other options. We can work with the developers still, but we'll kind of start. Like I said, we're gonna have to take another look at all this again, because we were hoping we were gonna get this congressionally directed spending, and we can apply for this again next year. That's what they told us is they don't know what it's gonna look like yet, but this year was a lot less than previous years, and so there's an option to look at this same funding again next year.
Okay. But so the intersection plan, though, and the design, we're not foreseeing that needing to change?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, Katie reminded me again today, it's still getting shovel ready is important. And so
Okay.
moving forward and then hoping that the funding will align.
And so that is the reason for doing it now and finishing it up for the
They're already at
grant.
60%, so at this point, we should just get completed engineering plans. And
Okay, and it's coming from the street fund. And just hearing in the budget meeting, you said, Jeremy, you said something about the streets that were being done
So
this year.
This is different,
This
though.
is
different street fund?
different bunch of money
It
in
is.
there.
It's already
And we're gonna
allocated.
come back to
Yeah.
you later this fall to talk about these, but these funds are actually restricted. so you can only use them for certain purposes. So this
Got
money
it.
was collected for this intersection, we can only use it for this intersection, we can't. And so we have a list of those, and we're working through, we'll be bringing you back more details on all those restricted funds in the future, but this is one of those, so we can't use it for anything else.
Oh, okay.
So we might as well.
Maybe we.
Move forward
No
on
way
this.
to slide it
Cheaper
over,
now
huh?
than next year.
Streets is
My only
streets.
concern is that
It's
match.
different.
I know.
I mean, but we have to get
understand.
engineering done. Has to happen.
Yeah.
It'll probably cost us more in 6 months or a year than it is now, so.
Any other questions or comments?
Big bummer.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to expend $96,705 on the Bayfield East intersection and Oak Drive alignment.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
and Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, we're moving on to our action agenda items. Do we have any public input on 4A through D? Seeing none, we'll move on to our old middle school gym lease.
So the old middle school gym lease was sent to CIRSA actually back in May. Basically, there were some issues, or there were some items regarding insurance that I believe Town Attorney Goldman thought maybe it'd be a good idea to send to CIRSA. And of course, CIRSA did find some things that they did need to change. But somehow it got lost in their communication travels. So when Leon wanted to know where the signed contract was, they found the email back at the 1st of May that I sent it to Jill Padbury. So anyway, they did get back to me. We made the changes that they asked for. And this is fairly similar to the one that you approved last year, except with the insurance items corrected per CIRSA's requests. So
Did the cost change at all, or is it?
the cost is the same.
That's what I thought.
All right, any questions? Would need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to authorize yourself, Mayor Tarkington, to execute the old middle school gym lease.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, Resolution 578, intent to commit to local jurisdiction, Proposition 123.
Yes, so I'm just gonna kind of go through Prop 123 real quickly, just to remind everybody of what this is. But last year, the voters of Colorado voted for Proposition 123. And what that is it set aside state income tax for affordable housing purposes. And what they consider affordable housing is if it's 60% of the area median income or less, they would qualify as affordable housing for rentals, and 100% of the area median income or less would qualify as affordable housing for sale products. So it's still pretty low area median incomes, especially for our area. But what this state income tax does is it collects this money, and they're requiring jurisdictions to opt in. And if we opt into this, we have 3 years to meet what we call our base. And our base, we've done some calculations here. So currently, they estimate we have 157 units that meet that qualification of the 60% AMI or the 100% AMI for rental or for sale. And so of that, we have to have a percentage that we provide through not just the town, but developers of that type of housing for the next 3 years. And so for us to meet our requirement, that would be 14 additional units in 3 years to meet our commitment to get funding. And so this would allow us to get some of that tax funding for our community. In 3 years, if we do not provide 14 units that meet those 2 AMIs, then we have to sit out a year and wait, and we can't get funding that year, but then we can opt back in. But we don't ever have to give back any funding that we've received. So this will open us up to a lot of grant opportunities that do not have to get paid back, that probably don't need much of a match, if any. They're trying to keep it at that low level for communities. And so there's really no downside to opting in. If we don't meet our match, we sit out a year, get units built still, and then we can opt in again. But this opens us up for additional housing funding, so that someday we could buy a mobile home park, or, you know, we could help developers out by buying down their infrastructure costs, or there's just certain things in order to get those lower cost housing units in our community. So it is required to have a resolution, and if you're all in support of that, we will opt in as soon as that's signed, and we have until November 1, so we just wanted to get a handle on this before, and we didn't want to wait too long.
I have a question. I can't remember, 'cause I've been at the meetings, but if we exceed the first year, does the base start at that whatever we built
No.
that year, or does it start?
Our base starts November 1 of 2023 for 3
So as long as
years.
it's 14 units through
In
that
3
3-year
years.
time frame, or 3% the first year, 3% the second?
Yeah, it's 14
14
total
total.
in 3
Okay.
years, so we could do it all in 1 year and we'd be good. We can spread it out and we're okay. And this is any unit, so again, if, you know, the Pine River Commons and Charlie builds units that meet those requirements, we can count those for our jurisdiction as well. And then, you know, that helps open up funding for projects like his, not just for town projects, but for other projects in the community.
And I know Chaffa is doing like 60% of those funds that are coming across. I was reading their parameters yesterday, and they were saying on there that if it's over that 100% AMI, you can actually ask them if they would go over it. So it doesn't fully put out like somebody who's at 120% or something.
Right, yeah, and I think they're looking at the resort communities, rural resort like
Yeah.
ours, and they're looking at they might have to do something a little bit different, because it's hard for us
Yeah.
to meet those.
100% is hard.
But other things is like, you can do land banking with it. So affordable home ownership program, so similar to what Homes Fund does, we can start a program like that. We can pay a organization like Homes Fund to handle all our deed restrictions for us with this funding. And so homelessness, if we need to work with persons with homelessness. And like I said, mobile home parks, there's actually a big part of it, helping to create those types of co-ops for mobile home parks. So there's a lot of different things that we can use with this funding once we opt in. I think right now there's 20 to 30 now communities that have opted in since we were able to. And again, if we have until November 1 to opt in for the next 3 years, otherwise we have to wait till November 1 next year to do it. But there's really no downside, because we don't have to give the
Yeah,
money
there's no
back.
penalty for
There's
not
no
doing it,
penalty.
so.
So I have a question, Nicole. When I'm looking at this, our strategy includes waiving permit fees. Would that be, if we had a development coming in that would put in some of these affordable units, and in exchange, we would waive a couple of the requirements that they would have?
Correct.
Okay, but that
And
would,
we're gonna be working on other ones through our land use code update.
okay.
But right now, our building permit fees did have that waiver program. I'm working on a policy, at Katie's request, just to spell out what that's gonna look like when we do waive fees, so we're consistent across the board. You provide this type of housing, then we'll look at waiving building permit fees.
Okay. But then again, the plus side to that is we will have other funding opportunities if we do those types of things.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Any
There's
other-
still a lot of, there's still a lot of unanswered questions on this program, like what's our share? How do we know how much we're gonna get out of it? And those are things that they still don't have answers for. Is it gonna be a competitive program, or if we opt in, we all are guaranteed a certain amount of money? Could be based on, population.
Population.
So some of those things they still haven't worked out. And once we know more information, we'll definitely be providing that.
Okay.
Can we ask a question?
Sure.
I'm Lori Lazari, and I live in Bayfield, near Cinnamon Heights. With the fan on, I couldn't hear a lot of what you said. Is there really a target area, or it just we don't have any idea? Could be mobile homes?
So what it is it's gonna be funding that we can use for a bunch of different programs. So we have a housing fund that was created, and we'd be getting funding, putting that into our housing program. And if we see land that's available, we could land bank it, which means we can purchase it like Cinnamon Heights and hold on till it can be developed. We can help a developer subsidize their infrastructure. In exchange, they provide us units that meet this criteria for this area medium income. So there's a lot of different things you could do with the money. Again, we don't know the specific details of, do we have to apply for the grants? Do they just give us a percentage based on our population and we just put it in our account and use it when we have those projects? So we don't know all those specifics yet, but we just know there's no downside. This opens us up to funding, and we don't have to pay that back because it's our property, it's our taxes, our community's taxes that are being collected for that.
So if we get the funding, that's at the time, that's a point of time when we decide where it's going.
Or before. I mean, we could start talking about some of the things we want to do. Like I said, we're going to be doing some code updates, and maybe that'll help us and direct us on some projects we want to do in the future. So we could have some things that we want to aim for, like Cinnamon Heights, finishing that up. I mean, this could help us go vertical with Cinnamon Heights. So, you know, maybe that's our priority. So there's a lot of different things we can use this funding for. They just don't know how they're going to allocate it yet.
We don't know everything yet because it's not been completed. But if we don't approve
Don't
this
opt in.
piece and opt into it, we get nothing.
We
Right.
don't even have a choice,
Okay.
a chance. And it's all our taxpayers' dollars.
Mhm.
If they don't come here, they're going to go somewhere else
Okay,
because the
Yep.
voters voted for it. So.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions on Resolution 578 or Prop 123?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 578.
I'll approve, second that, I mean. I approve.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yep.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, Tom.
It's always getting kicked out. He gets kicked out more than I do.
It's kicked out. All right, Resolution 579, the Strong Communities Grant.
So this, if you recall, at the last meeting, I brought in Resolution 576 and asked the board if we can apply for this grant for Cinnamon Heights. You know, we got $2 million from the TAG grant, but we were still shy, almost $700,000, so we had a gap there for the infrastructure. And so I got approval on that, and but after that happened, I through just emails and stuff, finding that Charlie's project, Pine River Commons, was also interested in this grant, but they can't apply. It has to be a municipality or a county that applies for them. And through our research, we found that we can apply for both projects. And so we can ask for this funding to cover 63 units rather than 30, because Charlie's looking for 33. So that increases, and that's all deed restricted. So we could ask for 63 deed restricted units. And so I just wanted to come to the board. I know we've been very supportive of Charlie's project because he is deed restrict, you know, saying he's going to deed restrict all his units. If the board wants staff to apply for both projects at the same time, because we haven't done the application yet, it's due August 18th. So if we want to apply for both projects at the same time, we can do that. And we would need to rescind Resolution 576, which was the previous one, that just allowed us to apply for Cinnamon Heights. And then part of this is we would make sure we have a contract with Charlie on how this is going to work, with us overseeing the funding, making sure that he's doing the infrastructure, and deed restricting those units as part of us applying for this funding. I do have a caveat. It's been 2 weeks now, and I've been requesting, because this grant does not, even though the state wants us to do land banking, and they've been promoting land banking, this grant says if you purchase a property before August of 2022, you can't use it as your match. And ours was purchased in May of 2021. So that's not land banking. That's not even a year. I mean, it's just barely a year this month. If you
Right.
purchase it before that, you can't use it as the match. And so I've asked the state if we could use our grant we just received as our match. And one group said yes, the other said no, the third one said they don't know. So they're all trying to figure that out. And so I don't want to lose an opportunity to apply. So I said, well, I'm going to do my letter of intent explaining that we're going to use this funding. If they determine I can't use that as a match, then we'll just have Charlie's project moving forward. Hopefully both can move, but Charlie's definitely going to be able to meet his match for his infrastructure. And then the majority of his infrastructure that he's putting in, the big stuff is going to be public infrastructure, and it's going to come back to the town anyway for ownership. So we're just requesting that we apply for both projects and then see if we can continue, move forward through the letter of intent process with both projects. But if not, it would be ours that would be able to move forward, but Charlie should meet everything.
So does this motion need to say rescind 576 and approve
Do you
579?
want two separate, Katie?
Or
There's two separate items.
Okay.
So we got the extra 700,000.
No,
We're
that's what we're going after.
That's
We're asking for that, so we haven't gotten it. So we don't even have it to fund
I have 2
Cinnamon
million
Heights,
right now.
which now we don't have
I have
the
a
match.
gap of 700,000, but
Yeah.
hopefully, if this doesn't work, Prop 123 hopefully will help us
Okay.
get Cinnamon Heights
And-
to where it needs to.
And we can't see a contract prior to agreeing to this from Bayfield Haga?
What do you mean by that?
As far as deed restrictions that are gonna
They've
work?
already started their deed restriction process, and so if we apply for this funding, he has to deed restrict those units that we're applying for.
We can't.
In a
This
s-
will
can't
lock
get the
him
money.
into deed restricting, because this is for
Right.
affordable housing infrastructure.
And who decides the deed restrictions? Only them then, right? Not, the town won't have
No,
anything?
we'll review them. They're providing them to the town.
Will we
because-
have input?
Yes, because ultimately, once the developer's gone, they're
That's-
deed for perpetuity, so we have to either hire somebody or manage them somehow to make sure that they continue in perpetuity. So we will review his deed restrictions, but he's using the same template we're using for Cinnamon Heights.
Okay.
Homes Fund is drafting his just like they're drafting Cinnamon Heights.
Mhm.
So they'll be pretty much the same deed restriction.
Any other questions?
So we're going for this grant even though we can't use it for
We
Cinnamon?
don't know.
You
They
don't
can't
know?
answer
Okay,
that.
they're the three
So I'm
people.
applying
Got
with
it.
the
Okay.
anticipation that I can, because they can't give me an answer yet, and I'm running out of time.
Gotcha.
So I don't have to do a full grant application right now, it's just a letter of intent. And through that process, they will tell me if I can use the tag to make my match. And if they say no, then I'll say, okay, we'll just move forward with this project and pull Cinnamon Heights out. But we're just asking to do the letter of intent, and then once we make it through that phase, then we'll apply for the grant if they let us move forward.
So we've already approved moving forward with Cinnamon
Yeah,
Heights.
so this is just
So
adding.
this is adding the other one on?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure I understand that.
Yep,
Gotcha.
and then you would have to rescind the original,
Mhm.
the first resolution.
Before or after?
I think after.
Yeah, we would have to approve, resolution 579 and then,
Rescind 576.
sorry, 576, and then we would do resolution 579 to rescind.
No, you're opposite.
Oh, sorry,
579,
579 approved,
you would need to
576.
rescind 579.
gotcha. Any other questions, clarification? Clear as
Yeah,
mud?
and I guess just making it clear again, if he accepts this grant funding, he's
Locked
making
in.
these houses deed restricted. That's locking him in now.
Which is cool. Get us to that 14 units.
Yeah,
Easily.
which he's already
14
committed
units
to
at the
thus far.
percentage.
It'd be 33
Right.
with this phase 1, and then I believe another 33 with phase
That's
2,
what the
which
deed
we're not applying
restrictions
for
for,
right now. We're
to
just
make sure
applying for
that you
phase
can
1.
get it.
But we don't know how it's there.
Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I would ask that. So basically what she's discussing is that, a deed restriction doesn't necessarily tell you whether they're 100% AMI or not. How do we know
It
the?
gives you the
what-
range.
It does in
Just
those.
fill out
Okay,
the
that's what I
range.
kind of thought.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Because that's how we know how to calculate it moving forward in the future. So we
Okay.
have to have that in there.
Wait.
So
Why did
yes,
you ask
it will,
that?
the deed restriction will spell out the AMI range.
Right, but
Our AMI
we don't
ranges
get
are
to
gonna
know
be,
the AMI range until we get to that point. We don't get to know it now.
we don't get to, we probably won't know now, and I'll tell you why. Cause once we figure out what the total cost is, that's when we can determine how much you can sell the units for.
Exactly.
So there's gonna be a range there, but once
Yeah.
the deed restriction is finalized, the document, that'll spill out what that range is.
Mhm.
But right now, we're still trying to piece all those pieces together.
Right.
But these grants, I think this one, you can only go to 140 AMI. So they have caps. If you apply for the grant, you can't go above their cap.
So how does that work when you have 140 AMI? How does that prevent everybody in town from being,
So it's
Qualified
based
for
on
that.
number of people in your family.
okay?
And I would say 120 AMI, I believe now, is that close to 100,000 if you have a family of 4?
Which
Which-
isn't much.
Which is really still hard to qualify for a house right now in our
With these
area.
interest rates,
Yep.
yeah, I mean.
Because a lot of
And that's why
those,
they keep raising the AMI, especially in our area, because people make 120 AMI still can't afford a home
Nope.
without help.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the crisis we're in.
Fortunately.
If you're ready to.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 579.
Second.
All right, any further discussion, clarification? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
No,
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. We'll keep Tom out. Jeremy,
Yeah, because it's a rescind.
we'll keep Tom out real quick.
We got to rescind.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to rescind Resolution 576.
I'll second that.
All right, any further comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
no,
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. Okay, Tom, you can join us. All right, we're going to move on to our ballot items portion of our agenda. Do we have any public input pertaining to those items, 5A through F?
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. I'm just here to support the sales tax consideration for the town master park. As I've stated several times, I think it's super important that we do the master park and we move forward as quickly as we can, realistically. But all these other things that we keep talking about, I think there's got to be a way. We need money. There's only 4 ways to get the money, and I think the master park will be a very important part of that for sales tax reasons down the line. We don't make our money, and you all know this, from property taxes. It's a minuscule amount of money that we take in from the county, but our money is in sales tax. So we need that, and we're going to need the support of the community to pass a ballot with any sales tax proposal. We all know that as well. So the master park, if handled properly and proposed properly, I think if we can get enough people behind it in the community to pass the sales tax initiative, I think that's a really important thing to work on. And I encourage you to support that. Thank you.
And Brian, just for the record, I do appreciate your reaching out to the community through the various apps out there on the World Wide Web. So-
Have you seen how many views it's gotten?
Yep,
Over 700.
yep.
So last time, I don't know how many reviews we get on things, but my thing is blowing up. People contacting me, just it's incredible. So I think it's a really positive thing, and I think it's one of those things that can be a legacy for the board right now and into the future. So give it a whirl.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to 5A, or IGA, County Clerk and Recorder, regarding the 2023 coordinated election.
So this is pretty much a template of the coordinated election IGA. And I just filled it out with, the town of Bayfield. And I did make sure to verify that the letter we sent saying that we would participate in the coordinated election could be more than one ballot question. And she did verify, Tiffany Lee, the county clerk and recorder, did verify that, yes, that one letter is fine for however many ballot questions we have. So that's where we're at on that one.
Okay. All right, any questions? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to authorize yourself, Mayor Tarkington, to execute the IGA.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
and Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our park master plan. These are around if anybody needs to see one.
So the park master plan we got just yesterday, I believe. They did send us a black and white a couple weeks ago. That's what was in the packet, but we wanted to make sure that the board had the other version, the beautiful version that gets you excited about what can be in the center of our town. I'm just going to say that we actually had a meeting with the Arena Association this afternoon. It was kind of like they had never seen this before, and nor were they aware that that there were some decisions that were made that we didn't move the arena. My assumption was all along that, and maybe it was Chris that talked to him in 2018, but Becky said she talked to him, and Ryan seemed to have that same conversation. So, I think that we are going to have a public hearing on this master plan for the Planning Commission on the 8th, and then another public hearing for the Board of Trustees on the 15th of August. So you're going to have to be aware of the rodeo arena's concerns that, that we got alert comments that are being squeezed out, that they don't need a skate park, that's where they want to park. I felt like that some of the things, the improvements they wanted were on their property and not necessarily our responsibility. It's a little complicated regarding the deed reverter that goes back to the school district, but a lot of those are still simply it's their property that they have to protect. So you need to be aware of that. I think if anything else, you're a little surprised because we had, almost 400 surveys responded, and they said that they couldn't do the survey. Well, it was open to the public, and that includes the county. It didn't matter where you lived, in or outside of town. So they had ample opportunity. So you just need to be aware of what they're going to bring. I think there's a lot that we can do as far as in the design phase. I'm just going to point out to just this parking area that's kind of south of the park shop.
I have it here. Do you want me to put it on the screen for you?
Yep.
So who is saying that they don't like it? The
Yeah,
rodeo?
they're saying they.
The Rodeo Arena Association. So
They've been in the discussion, they've been in the room.
Well-
They
Well, and the
just-
good thing was the superintendent was also
They weren't even
hearing
willing to work with us, so.
discussion. So he heard that they were concerned with staying there.
So they don't want the skate park because it brings,
Skaters.
well, it brings skaters, and they say that they have a lot of property damage to their property. And I'm like, well, we put cameras at the
Yeah,
skate
I
park,
don't-
we put lights, we put lights
Yeah.
at the park shop, so guess what's happened? It's reduced
Right.
vandalism.
Of course.
And they wanted us to turn the lights from the skate park to the.
Yeah, no.
So, and I'm not trying to make fun of this, but I think that a lot of
That's their
ways that they have to be
responsibility.
responsible
Right.
for their
Yeah.
property. And if they feel there's some improvements they need to make to their property, they need to make them. I think there's a lot we can
gonna be easement requirements, cause some, yeah, we're gonna have to work together, and they're gonna have to be willing to give some easements in order for us to do some things too.
All our firework parking is gonna become a pickleball court.
You can sit in the middle of the
Yeah.
It's all good, we will, we'll have our chairs.
I think I was just as shocked.
What's up with street access? I mean, they're gaining the street access.
Well, that was,
Yeah.
I don't know, they seemed to have more concerns about it than they had positive
I
stuff.
think they just
I
feel
mean-
like this park is growing around them and they're squeezing them and they can't access their arena and.
They can
I-
access their
on
arena.
town
Maybe
property.
their arena needs, they
I've-
have to come up with their own land for their own parking.
I've had some of their members ask me if I can get someone over there to mow the weeds. I was like, that is not us. That is, what do you pay your dues for? Talk to your president.
Which
Like,
do some of that for them.
'cause it gets so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad.
So they have, they, you know, are concerned about vandalism. Well, you may remember trustee Polides was really mad because there is just a junk pit. I mean, like, get rid of the concession stand that is nothing but a vandal.
Hang out.
So there's some other things. So, I guess in a lot of ways, we were a little bit,
Taken aback.
surprised
Taken aback.
that they were taking this stance. But then I think you need to be aware that, you know, there's gonna be,
They're gonna
well,
probably
we thought
come.
we were working with them. We're maybe stepping up.
I just think they have communication issues within the organization, so I'm not
I'm
surprised.
sorry, it's their land. They take care of it. I don't expect my neighbors to cut down my weeds.
Well, you know, we explained that too. We need to be stewards of the town's property for the park, and the community's spoken very clearly to us of what they want. And, you know, it's important for us to move forward with that on the town's property.
I
And
agree.
we really are trying to stay off of theirs, but there's a few areas that, you know, there's existing roads that we're gonna need some easements on, so we wanted to have this conversation so that we can work together and figure out what easements we may need, and then give them actually legal access easements, cause I can't find anything that ever show, I mean, I know that, and you really can't do adverse possession on town property, but I can't find anything that shows that they ever have actually created legal access to their landlocked property. And so just trying to work with them on all of that.
Perhaps. There might be. I did a survey on that whole park
I
before.
have your
Yeah, we have
survey.
that.
Did you find that?
Yeah, we found it, thank
And
you.
there
You
wasn't an
provided-
access on that document?
I didn't see that.
No,
I was thinking there was an access on that document.
I think there's just where there's a driveway to it, not necessarily a legal,
Yeah, 'cause I think, well, that was probably just bus parking at the time.
right.
Have
So,
Real quick, can I ask something, Katie? I know that we're gonna do these in phases, but as we look at this map, what is the assumed phase A, B, C, D? We're gonna break it into four, like, as we look at this, what are we considering to be a potential phase A?
So-
We're gonna,
Yeah,
we're
I-
gonna work with our consultants on that, and some of that's gonna be based on cost, and what we think things are gonna cost, and how we think we can divvy up cost, as well as area. Like, I think Joe Stevenson's gonna be part of the first phases, cause there's so much happening in there, but in terms of how that's divvied up, I think it's gonna really be based on cost and what we think we can afford and get grants for at that time.
I wonder, this is crazy, and you guys can throw me out of the room if you want to, for thinking of this crazy plan. What if we were to talk to the arena, the rodeo people, and do something where we put we take their land here and give them this land down
So you
here?
missed
So you
that.
missed that where
Because you
that was
got on
our
the board
original
late.
plan, and they said no
I wasn't
Jose.
here.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. That was,
I was like, here, then we have this nice big
This is-
section.
that
Let me
was
give a
the
little
Never mind.
history. Yeah,
They
that's our
didn't like it.
2018 plan. And the reason why we're spending money to do a new plan is because we were told we couldn't do that.
Oh,
We
okay,
were
well,
told
never
we
mind me
couldn't
then.
move the arena. And we have a whole plan that moves them, and so we're re-spending money to redo the plan because we were told we couldn't do that.
Oh, okay.
and the reason that we couldn't do that is that the deed that the arena sets on is a reverter deed. And so it's clear in the deed that it says if they ever stop operating a rodeo arena, it reverts back to the school district. And so we had that discussion. We had about a year's worth of discussions with the school district basically to talk about if it reverts back to if we move the rodeo arena and it reverts back to the town, would you let it go for Joe Stevenson Park? Well, they have other ideas, and keep in mind, we're another local government, and we said, okay, we went back to the board and said, it's not gonna go back to the town for Joe Stevenson Park, so we need to change the plan.
So we can move forward. We just want to move forward with the plan.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
And we can
So the
build
other
a
thing
fence.
is that it would be great not to keep calling this the sewer plant park.
Does not make people
Or
want
the,
to
you know,
go
the
to it.
wastewater treatment plant park, or, you know, we have the Heritage Farms basically on the north side of that property. But it would be great to name it. I mean, Schiller was going to be one of those, you know, the flip of a coin could have been Schillerville instead of Bayfield. And Schiller Street is right there, so something for you to think about. I'm not asking you to name it today. But to actually go to the voters, you may think about actually naming that park so we don't call it, you know, things that don't sound like it's a
Place you want to go
community
to?
Yeah.
Well, I think if Jackie Moreland was still here, we know what she would say.
Lagoon Acres.
Lagoon.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts? We'll be getting the big ones there, getting printed, right? All right, let's move on to sales tax draft ordinance.
Yes, so, I know that you just approved the IGA, the ballot question. I'm fairly confident that we can adopt, the ordinance. I just need to make sure on the ordinance and the 30 days it becomes effective, but it really doesn't become effective until the voters vote in favor of both of these. So just a couple points in the sales tax. Sorry, I just got a little screen that got wiped out. So this would basically be modifying Chapter 14, which you currently have sales tax in there, and then the revenues, 0.5% sales tax imposed herein are hereby pledged to the town of Bayfield General Fund created in Section 1420 solely for Joe Stevenson Park and the unnamed park south of Schiller Street, operations and development of the master plan. And I have it in there for 20 years, and the reason I'm putting in kind of a sunset is because voters will typically say, okay, well, if it sunsets and it just doesn't go on forever and we really never have any control of it over that, typically they're a little more in favor of those types of taxes. And it's about $295,000, which will definitely go towards, grants. It's a great match for a grant. If you think about that grows, GOCO was typically 30 to 70% match, and you can find other funders. I know that there's a couple other funders that have funded parks and skate parks specifically. Tony Hawk actually had quite a fund. He's one of the famous skaters. I think he's still in California. He's actually funded quite a few skate parks in the country. So I have worked with his foundation before. And then, of course, the resolution basically with the ballot question. And I think we just need to have legal review of that as well, just to make sure that, any Tabor things just to make sure that they're correct. So certainly we'll get with Town Attorney Goldman on that one.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. You want to talk about our accommodation tax draft?
So the accommodation tax ordinance is, again, you have to put it into the section of your municipal code. I think it was again in chapter 14, and basically accommodation 4%. And camping cabins, commercial property, lodging businesses, lodging unit, short-term rental, recreational vehicle. So, if they ever, some of the recreational vehicle parks that we're talking about are cabins, those will be all short-term rentals. If there's ever a hotel built in town, that would also, you'd also collect 4% lodging tax. And that has to be collected by the town, not the state. And so just like we're supposed to be collecting the 10 cents on bag fees from some of our vendors that are eligible to do that, we'll also be have to collecting that as well. So, in the ordinance, I basically have collecting on a quarterly basis, not every month. It's likely that if you ever decide to collect it more often, or if you have quite a bit of lodging, that makes sense. But I think that for the first 10 or so years, your quarterly will be adequate for the town. And I did take out parks out of where that money would go to. It go to economic development and workforce housing or affordable housing for a workforce. So, you want to make sure that what these ordinances are directing or asking for, that you're in agreement with them. So I think you have about another month or so to make sure that they say what you want to say, and it will be edited through legal review or other purposes. So.
If you say it's for more than one, if you allocate it to more than one area, do they have to split it between the two, or do you get to choose?
Well,
year
so
to year?
like municipal services, like for the police department,
Right.
you can say that, we have maybe a tourist season, a certain amount of tourist season that that it's going to go more for overtime for those types of municipal services. So you can use it for municipal services, but I decided to take parks out of there for the only reason that if you have a sales tax for parks and a lodging tax for parks, use it for economic development, because if you use it for economic development, it's going to build your sales tax base in town.
Mhm.
You don't have to have a percentage, but you do have to budget it. The expenditures are going towards that specific reason. Just like the street tax, when you were spending it on stormwater, we realized that the voters did not give you that authority to do that. For Dove Ranch specifically, not necessarily for, culverts and things that actually are in a street.
So we think really only economic development's the only place we could
No.
use the
And workforce housing.
and
workforce
and-
housing.
And municipal services as associated with tourism.
But
Pretty
you have to
much, yeah.
spell it out so that the voters know exactly.
Where else would you like it to go, Brenna? What are your
Well,
thoughts?
what other funds need help, and what other extra places do we need help with stuff?
Well, you're not gonna, I'm guessing, just probably less than $20,000 the first year, if that.
That's why I was
So-
asking if you have to split it up, because like you could put it all, if you don't have to split it, like say you chose 2 places it goes to, and if you don't have to split it, you can allocate it wherever you want to at the beginning of the year.
So the legislature still has certain purposes that you can use it for. You can't, I'm gonna say, you can't use it for, like water or wastewater. You have to use it for something, that is within that. An excise tax is a little different than a lodging tax. So lodging tax has to go to something that has to do with the impact of tourism.
Right, so is economic development the only thing that is impacted by tourism?
Economic development is probably how you're going to attract tourism here.
That's true.
I mean, there's more people driving on our streets, so there might be more wear and tear there. I mean, I think there's many ways you can look at this, but since it's so small right now.
Municipal services could be wayfinding.
Right, I just
So,
don't want to pigeonhole
yeah.
us into, okay, you can only spend it on this forever.
Well, and that's why I think we're leaving that lawful municipal expenses kind of vague,
Okay,
so that covers those.
oh, I get what you're saying
Yeah.
now, okay. All
Well,
right, thanks for explaining.
Okay,
I get it.
because it has 3 things: economic development, workforce housing, and related lawful municipal, so. Because, I mean, I'm thinking revitalization of Mill Street.
Yeah, well, she said like we could do Wayfair signing if we ever, you know, need
Yeah.
that, or to attract tourism down to our,
Match the other one that we, the
Yeah.
only one we got.
hey. All right, any other questions on that?
I don't think so.
Do we have any board reports?
I can actually give a report. So I'm a part of the LFIP, which is the La Plata Healthcare Improvement Coalition. And I have been assigned to the Community Benefit Committee, which is when you have a hospital such as Mercy Hospital, they are required to provide so much community benefit back into the community. And so they do an annual health assessment of where they think the needs are, and they completed this last November. And they're looking at substance abuse, suicide prevention, food, access to food, and behavioral and mental health. I think there was 5 things, and I'm only remembering 4. So I'm part of a group that is looking at, is this happening? How is it happening? And is there a better way to make it happen? And I think we've had 2 meetings so far, and we have a 3rd one tomorrow, but what I'm seeing so far is we have people working in it's kind of siloed. And so Mercy is like, they're gonna solve some of these problems, but I kind of have been asking, well, are you working with this group, this group, this group, and this group? Because some of this work is being done, and maybe some of the funding you're putting aside to address these issues could actually be worked with another group that's doing this. So it's been a little bit of a slow process. It was kind of, we were waiting, like trying to, I don't know, we had our toes dipped in the water trying to figure this out. There's 6 different committees. There's access to care, affordability of care, policy change. I mean, since I'm in the community benefit group, that's the only one that I've been paying attention to so far, because my mind can only go in so many directions. But when I'm looking at this, I'm also trying to look at it from the lens of, since I'm representing the town of Bayfield on that board, as how does this benefit, this community benefit that the hospital's providing, what does it do for the people who live in our community? And since I'm the only elected official on that committee, I'm considering the other municipalities as well, and what do they get out of this? So trying to still piece it all together and figure out, how this can benefit our community, and see how that, if the implementation plan that Mercy has is actually happening, and then what is it doing for our residents? So it's been quite busy. They wanted me to chair their committee work group, and I said, no, I'm busy. I'm way too busy, but it's been really great discussion, and there's members clearly from Mercy on that board. It's being led by the League of Women Voters. They kind of put all this together. There's different members of the medical community who are on some of these different work groups. I did get someone from San Juan Basin Public Health on this work group, so that I am not trying to represent something that I'm not supposed to be representing on the work group, because we do at the health department have a lot of we have programs and we have people working on this that Mercy's trying to help, and I'm like, are you guys even talking? Because we do this on the daily, and you've identified it as an issue, and are we working on it together? So it's been really fascinating, and I'm really happy to be a part of this coalition on behalf of the town of Bayfield. So it's been good.
Anyone else? You have your upcoming dates of interest. Do you have anything to add to that?
Just Plan Commission next week, August 8th.
Katie, do you have anything to add?
Oh, I do want to make an announcement. So for the block party, this month we are going to do pet registrations, and offering $3 pet registrations, but cash or check only, and we'll be at the block party. You are required to register your pet in the town of Bayfield annually, and we do need your, just your rabies vaccine when you come. So if somebody wants to